Welcome to my channel. Old Coins News a Day videos is one you won't miss. We're diving into the world of coins, so let's get it started. The 1982 United States quarter dollar, inscribed with the familiar words United States of America, E pluribus unum, liberty, and in God we trust, represents one of the most circulated and historically interesting coins from the late 20th century. Although there was no T mint mark ever used on U.S. quarters, this likely refers to a 1982 P, Philadelphia, or 1982D, Denver, issue. In 1982, the United States Mint made an important decision that shaped coin collecting for decades. They did not produce uncirculated mint sets, meaning every 1982 quarter found today originates from general circulation or special collector sources. This makes high-grade, uncirculated examples quite scarce and desirable among collectors. The obverse front of the 1982 Washington quarter features a left-facing portrait of George Washington, the first president of the United States. This design was created by John Flanagan in 1932, marking the 200th anniversary of Washington's birth. Washington's image is surrounded by the word liberty at the top, symbolizing the nation's founding principle. Below Washington's chin appears the motto, "In God We Trust," reflecting the American people's deep-rooted belief in divine guidance and moral governance. The date 1982 is positioned at the bottom, identifying the year of mintage. If present, the mint mark P, Philadelphia, or D, Denver, appears just behind Washington's hair ribbon on the right side. The reverse back of the coin features a powerful image of a bald eagle, the national bird and emblem of the United States, standing proudly on a bundle of arrows, symbols of defense and readiness. Beneath the arrows rests an olive branch, a symbol of peace and diplomacy. This combination reminds citizens that America seeks peace but is always prepared to defend its liberty and independence. Above the eagle's outstretched wings are the words United States of America, encircling the design in bold capital letters. Directly below that appears the traditional Latin phrase E pluribus unum, which means out of many, one. This phrase embodies the idea that the nation was formed from a union of many states and diverse people united as one nation. At the bottom is the denomination, quarter dollar, identifying the coin's face value of 25 cents. In terms of composition, the 1982 quarter is part of the clad coinage era that began in 1965, following the removal of silver from circulating quarters. It is made of a copper-nickel-clad construction, comprising an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. The coin weighs 5.67 grams, measures 24.3 millimeters in diameter, and has a reeded edge consisting of 119 fine ridges. This design was intended to maintain the same size and general appearance as the earlier 90% silver quarters, but with more durable and cost-efficient materials suitable for everyday transactions. The minting process of 1982 quarters was carried out at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with total production exceeding 1 billion pieces. Specifically, the Philadelphia mint struck around 500 million, while the Denver mint produced slightly more. However, the lack of mint sets in 1982 means that very few coins were preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition. Most examples found today exhibit moderate to heavy wear, dull luster, and contact marks from years of circulation. High-grade mint state examples, MS65 or better, are considerably rare and can be valued significantly higher than their face value. From a historical perspective, the 1982 quarter reflects a time of significant economic and social transition in the United States. The early 1980s were marked by economic recession, high inflation, and changes in metal prices that continued to influence U.S. mint policies. The decision not to produce official mint sets in 1982 and 1983 was primarily due to budgetary constraints and lower collector demand at the time. Ironically, this decision created a shortage of well-preserved examples that would later make these 2 years key issues of collectors seeking to complete Washington quarter sets in top condition. The design symbolism of the 1982 quarter continues to represent enduring American values. Washington's image stands for leadership, independence, and patriotism. The eagle on the reverse reminds the nation of its strength and commitment to freedom. The phrases liberty and in God we trust highlight both the political and spiritual foundations of the country. E pluribus unum reinforces unity despite diversity, an ideal that resonates across generations. For collectors, the 1982 Washington Quarter is often studied for strike quality, die varieties, and errors. Some of the notable varieties include clipped planchets, die cracks, double dies, off-center strikes, and coins with missing clad layers. Because of the vast mintage and heavy use, many 1982 quarters exhibit weak strikes or worn details, especially around Washington's hair and the eagle's wings. Collectors who find sharply struck examples with full luster and minimal marks are often rewarded with a piece that tells not just of its monetary worth but also of its journey through American commerce and history. In modern times, the 1982 quarter serves as a fascinating link between the classic Washington design era and the later state quarters program launched in 1999. It symbolizes a period before the Mint began experimenting with commemorative reverse designs and when the quarter was still purely utilitarian. Holding a 1982 quarter is like holding a small piece of early 1980s America, a time capsule of its economic realities, artistic traditions, and national pride. In conclusion, the 1982 United States Washington quarter dollar is much more than a 25-cent coin. It embodies history, symbolism, and a story of transition in U.S. minting policy. Whether marked with a D from Denver or a P from Philadelphia, it remains a coin of both historical and collectible significance. The detailed imagery, United States of America, E pluribus unum, liberty, in God we trust, and the noble eagle, continues to remind every American of the nation's enduring unity, resilience, and ideals of freedom. The 1965 United States Washington quarter dollar stands as one of the most historically significant coins ever produced by the U.S. Mint, representing a dramatic turning point in the nation's coinage history. Inscribed with the timeless phrases United States of America, E pluribus unum, liberty, and In God we trust, the 1965 quarter marks the birth of a new era, the beginning of the copper-nickel-clad coinage that replaced the traditional 90% silver composition used for over 170 years. As such, the 1965 quarter is not merely a circulating coin but a symbol of economic adaptation, technological progress, and national resilience during one of America's most transformative decades. On the obverse front of the coin is a distinguished left-facing portrait of George Washington, designed by the sculptor John Flanagan in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of Washington's birth. The design, chosen after a national competition, became a lasting tribute to the founding father whose leadership shaped the United States. Washington's portrait is detailed and dignified, showing his hair tied back in a colonial-style ribbon. Above his head appears the powerful word liberty, symbolizing the very principle upon which the United States was founded. Beneath Washington's chin lies the national motto, In God We Trust, first added to U.S. coinage during the Civil War era and reaffirmed here as a declaration of national faith and moral conviction. The date 1965 appears prominently at the bottom, denoting the year of minting, and it stands as the first in a series of quarters made entirely without silver. Unlike earlier Washington quarters, the 1965 issue carries no mint mark, and this absence is historically significant. During the early 1960s, the United States faced a severe coin shortage, largely caused by rising silver prices and the public's hoarding of silver coins. In response, the mint sought to discourage collectors from saving coins based on mint marks. Consequently, from 1965 through 1967, all U.S. coins were struck without mint marks, regardless of where they were produced. Therefore, even though 1965 quarters were minted at Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, none bear a P, D, or S mark. This policy makes identifying a 1965 quarter's specific mint of origin impossible by appearance alone. The reverse, back, of the coin retains John Flanagan's elegant and patriotic design featuring the bald eagle, the national bird of the United States. The eagle is portrayed with its wings spread wide, a powerful image of vigilance, freedom, and strength. In its talons, the eagle holds a bundle of arrows, representing the nation's preparedness to defend its liberty and sovereignty. Below the arrows rests an olive branch, a symbol of peace and diplomacy. The juxtaposition of these two elements reflect America's dual commitment, a readiness to protect freedom while always seeking peace through negotiation and moral strength. Encircling the eagle design at the top are the words United States of America, a declaration of national identity and authority. Just beneath this inscription appears a Latin motto E pluribus unum, which translates to out of many, one. This phrase, first adopted for the Great Seal of the United States in 1782, emphasizes the unity of the American states and the diverse peoples who form one nation. At the bottom of the reverse, the denomination quarter dollar identifies the coin's face value at 25 cents. The design's harmony of text and imagery makes the Washington quarter one of the most iconic and enduring coins in American history. The composition of the 1965 quarter represents one of the most critical changes in U.S. mint history. Prior to 1965, quarters were composed of 90% silver and 10% copper, weighing 6.25 grams. However, due to the dramatic rise in silver prices and a widespread shortage of coins in circulation, the mint transitioned to a new copper-nickel-clad composition. The 1965 quarter was thus struck with an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel, bonded to a pure copper core. The total weight was reduced to 5.67 grams, and the diameter remained at 24.3 millimeters. The reeded edge, containing 119 fine ridges, was retained, but now reveals a visible copper band when viewed from the side, distinguishing it from earlier silver quarters. This copper line became the most recognizable feature separating silver and clad quarters in everyday commerce. The introduction of the clad quarter in 1965 was part of the Coinage Act of 1965, signed into law by President Lyndon B. Johnson. This legislation authorized a mint to eliminate silver from dimes and quarters and to reduce silver content in half dollars to 40%. The goal was to stabilize the coin supply and curb hoarding. The act also temporarily removed mint marks and allowed for production at multiple facilities to meet public demand. The 1965 quarter was struck in enormous quantities. Over 1.8 billion coins were produced to reintroduce efficient coinage into circulation. These quarters were minted continuously into 1966, blurring the production lines between the 2 years, as the mint aimed to alleviate the shortage. From a numismatic standpoint, the 1965 quarter holds immense importance despite its commonality. It marks the first regular-issue clad quarter, setting the standard for all circulating U.S. quarters thereafter. Collectors often examine 1965 quarters for transitional errors, especially those mistakenly struck on leftover 90% silver planchets from 1964. These rare 1965 silver quarters are extremely valuable and can be identified by their higher weight, 6.25 grams, and lack of a visible copper stripe along the edge. Such pieces occasionally appear in circulation and are considered major numismatic treasures, worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on condition. In circulated condition, most 1965 quarters show moderate where due to heavy usage, as they were minted during a period of high demand. Examples in mint state, MS65 or higher, exhibit brilliant luster, sharp details, and minimal marks. Collectors also study die varieties, such as double dies, die cracks, off-center strikes, and broad strikes, which add historical and monetary value to these coins. The 1965 Special Mint Set SMS coins, produced with slightly sharper strikes and satin finishes, are another point of interest. These SMS coins were not true proofs but featured better detail and were sold to collectors, bridging the gap between circulation strikes and proof coinage. The historical context surrounding the 1965 quarter makes it even more fascinating. America was in the midst of profound cultural, political, and technological change. The space race was accelerating, civil rights movements were reshaping society, and economic adjustments were necessary to maintain stability. The quarter of 1965 thus became a reflection of national adaptation, a durable, affordable, and practical coin for a rapidly changing economy. It symbolized a modern America ready to embrace innovation while maintaining continuity in its national symbols and values. From a symbolic perspective, the inscriptions and imagery on the 1965 quarter carry deep meaning. The word liberty honors the nation's foundational principle. The motto, "In God We Trust," affirms faith and moral grounding. E pluribus unum reminds citizens of unity amid diversity, and the eagle represents freedom and vigilance. Together, these symbols tell the story of a country proud of its past yet evolving toward a new future. The 1968 United States quarter dollar is a significant coin in modern American numismatics because it belongs to the early years of the clad coinage era, a period that marked a major change in U.S. coin production. Before 1965, American quarters were made of 90% silver and 10% copper, but due to rising silver prices and public hoarding of silver coins, the U.S. Mint decided to remove silver from circulating coins. Thus, the 1968 quarter continued the new copper-nickel clad composition, which had first been introduced in 1965. The coin's metallic content consists of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, giving it a silvery appearance without containing any actual silver. The total weight is 5.67 grams, with a diameter of 24.3 millimeters and a reeded edge with about 119 tiny ridges. These features, though mechanical, were vital for vending machine recognition and security against counterfeiting. On the obverse side, front, the 1968 quarter features a familiar left-facing bust of George Washington, designed by sculptor John Flanagan in 1932. Washington's profile was originally chosen to commemorate the 200th anniversary of his birth. The portrait shows Washington's strong, dignified expression, a symbol of leadership and national pride. Above his head arcs the word Liberty, which has been a central inscription on all U.S. coins since the earliest days of the Republic, representing one of the nation's founding ideals. To the left of Washington's neck truncation, near his throat, appears the phrase, "In God We Trust," the official motto of the United States since 1956, which had first appeared on coins in the 1860s during the Civil War. Beneath the portrait lies the date 1968, denoting the year of mintage. Depending on where it was struck, the coin may bear a mint mark just to the right of the ribbon in Washington's hair, either D for Denver or S for San Francisco. Notably, 1968 was the first year mint marks returned to coins after being omitted from 1965 to 1967, a decision that had been made to discourage coin hoarding during the national coin shortage. This small detail makes 1968 an important year for collectors because it represents the reintroduction of visible mint marks in the modern era. The reverse side, back, of the 1968 quarter carries the classic heraldic eagle design, also created by John Flanagan. At the top is the inscription United States of America, and just below it, in slightly smaller lettering, the Latin motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one. This phrase, adopted for the Great Seal of the United States in 1782, symbolizes the unity of the states forming one nation. Dominating the reverse is a majestic bald eagle, America's national bird, with its wings spread wide in a pose of strength and readiness. The eagle clutches a bundle of arrows in its talons, representing the nation's willingness to defend its liberty, while an olive branch below symbolizes a desire for peace. Beneath the eagle is a denomination quarter dollar, denoting the coin's value as 1/4 of a U.S. dollar. The simplicity and power of this design kept it in circulation for nearly half a century, from 1932 until it was replaced in 1999 by the 50-state quarter series. In 1968, quarters were struck at 3 facilities: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D; and San Francisco, S, though the latter primarily produced proof coins for collectors. The Philadelphia Mint made hundreds of millions for general circulation, while Denver produced a similarly large number for everyday commerce. The San Francisco Mint, however, struck only high-quality proof quarters, specially made with polished dies and planchets, resulting in mirror-like fields and frosted designs. These proof coins were packaged in sets of collectors and are highly prized for their brilliant finish and sharp detail. Historically, the year 1968 was a time of great change in the United States, marked by political upheaval, civil rights struggles, and the Vietnam War. Against this backdrop, the quarter represented both continuity and stability in a rapidly shifting nation. Its enduring design reminded Americans of their shared heritage and values amid the turbulence of the late 1960s. It circulated alongside other denominations featuring similar modernized clad compositions: the dime, half dollar, and nickel, each carrying familiar American symbols but now made without silver. From a numismatic standpoint, the 1968 quarter has several collectible varieties. The 1968 D, Denver, is the most common, with hundreds of millions minted. The 1968 S proof coin, however, stands out for its exquisite detail and brilliant luster. There are two notable proof varieties, cameo and deep cameo, terms used to describe the contrast between the frosted rays design and the mirrored background. Deep cameo examples, with particularly strong contrast, are scarcer and thus more valuable. While most 1968 quarters are worth only their face value in circulated condition, high-grade uncirculated specimens, especially those graded MS66 or higher by PCGS or NGC, can attract collector interest, fetching several dollars or more depending on luster, strike quality, and absence of marks. Proof examples graded PR69 or PR70 deep cameo are the most desirable, often commanding significantly higher prices in numismatic markets. The coin's edge, reeded rather than smooth, serves not only an aesthetic role but also a historical one. Reeded edges were originally introduced centuries earlier to prevent people from shaving off tiny amounts of precious metal from silver and gold coins. Even though the 1968 quarter contained no silver, the tradition continued, linking the coin to its silver ancestors. Over time, the 1968 quarter has become a common but historically meaningful coin, a snapshot of an important transitional period in American coinage. While it doesn't have the intrinsic silver value of its pre-1965 counterparts, it represents the resilience and adaptability of the U.S. Mint in facing economic challenges. Every worn 1968 quarter that passes through hands today has witnessed decades of American life, from gas stations of the 1970s to convenience stores of the 1990s to vending machines of the modern digital era. In conclusion, the 1968 Washington quarter dollar is far more than a small piece of metal. It is a tangible artifact of post-silver America, a reminder of the evolution of U.S. currency, the artistry of John Flanagan's design, and the symbolism of liberty, faith, and unity that continues to define the American spirit. Whether viewed as a simple circulating coin or a collectible relic of the late 20th century, it remains an enduring emblem of national history, culture, and continuity.